Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm meadsyreplays. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be looking at the KPZ 70. Now, of course, this tank has recently changed to tier 10. Do I think it is a good move? And what do I think of the tank now? Now, I've previously, when this tank was first released, I didn't really like it. I thought it kind of sucked a little bit, but the more I play it, the more I do enjoy it playing the tank. Now it's moved to tier 10. Do I think it is a worse tank or is it a much better tank? So we're going to have a look at the stats and then we will talk about it. Now, the first thing first, it does have tungsten shells, which really does help the tank. I love tungsten shells. Like, to get more alpha on certain tanks, I think that is it's a very, very good thing. And if you can use it on a tank, I would strongly recommend to use it on a tank. So stat wise, turret is 215 mil. And your hull is 150. Your DPM is 2,420, so not fantastic, but it's kind of average now for a tier 10 of this caliber. Reload is 17.89. That is, your penetration is 272 on your AP, so not too bad, and 350 on your heat, so yeah, not too bad. 102 on your HE, which is pretty nice. You've got a 560 alpha gun, 490 on your heat, and 640 on your HE. You've also got to bear in mind you do have that tungsten shell, so 560 can go above the 600 mark when you are using the tungsten shells. Your aim time is 3.8 and your gun dispersion is 0.344. It has 7 degrees of gun depression and a top speed of 43 kilometers per hour, which isn't bad at all. Now, do I think this tank is better than it was? Is it better than it was or is it worse than it was? Now, straight off the bat, I think it's worse than it was. Yes, the stats have changed, but I love this tank when you come up against tier 8s. It was a fantastic tank when it come up against tier 8s. When you come up against tier 10, it did kind of struggle. Now you only come up against tier 10 and tier 9. You're not coming up against tier 8s. I do think it has made the tank even worse. I still love the tank. Don't get me wrong. I think it's a great tank. It looks fantastic. Not with this camouflage this guy's got, but with the legendary camouflage, I do think it looks a beast, an absolute beast. But I don't think it just doesn't play as good, because you're not coming up against those tier 8s, and that's what made this tank special. Is when you come up against tier 8s, it was brutal. It was an absolute beast. So Wargaming have now taken that away from this tank. Again, I know they've adjusted the stats, but you know, it still doesn't make it any good. They've adjusted it yet, but it doesn't come up against tier 8s, and I do think it struggles against tier 10. Even now, when it's a tier 10, I don't think the armor profile is as good as it should be either. I think the armor profile should be made a lot better. The hull is very, very weak. The turret, yeah, is okay, but there's still a lot of weak points on the turret. So I don't think the turret is actually fantastic. In certain positions, yeah, it's, you know, if you can just hide your hull and only show your turret and you're moving about, then of course it can be a little bit difficult to be able to penetrate that. But I just don't understand why Wargaming would remove this from tier 9 to add to tier 10, because it was never like a special tank. It was never OP. It was never insane. It was always a good tank, yes, but it was never like, oh my god, this tank is insane. This needs to be a tier 10 tank. You know, like back in the day with the T30. So basically, the T30 should have always been a tier 10. That was only because it was always better than the E4. However, this is, you know, is nothing special about the tank. It used to be great at ammo racking. To be fair, I haven't seen an ammo rack in the tank for a while. But I do like the alpha. I think the alpha is very good. As you can just see there, 700 damage done to the FV215B with a max roll. So you can get high damage. You can get ammo racks, of course, because it is a high caliber gun. You can still get the ammo racks. I just think it struggles. I honestly, I do think it struggles. And I just think it was perfectly fine in tier 9. Why did Wargaming ever remove it? I really, really don't know, but it's sad. It is sad. Of course, some people will like it. It's another tier 10 at the end of the day. It's another tier 10 in your garage. but I just preferred coming up against tier 8s in this tank. That's all. That's just me. Some people may prefer it. I don't know. But me personally, I definitely, I mean, who wouldn't? Who wouldn't prefer coming up against tier 8s than tier 10s? It's, you know, it's just common sense, really. I'd always prefer to come up against tier 8s than tier 10. I think the only advantage is you may get more damage because there's more alpha when you come up against tier 9 and 10. But that's really the only positive. For me, that's the only positive of this tank being in tier 10. So let me know what you think of the tank in tier 10. Is it a tank that you wanted to see in tier 10? Or would you have preferred just to stay in tier 9 to come up against those tier 8 tanks? Let me know in the comments below. But we're going to finish up watching the rest of this battle because it was a very good battle. I'm not going to lie. He pulled up a very, very good position. In fact, he's actually blocked quite a bit damage. 2,180 damage there. He's up to 5.2k damage. This is currently the new #1 Hall of Fame in Blitzstar. So if you do more damage than this, head over to Blitzstars, upload your replay, and you could be #1 Hall of Fame for now. I definitely think now it's tier 10, it will be beaten because, I mean, it's not quite 8,000 damage. And, you know, you try and aim for the 8,000 damage or you try and look at 8,000 damage plus when it comes to tier 10s. But recently, Blitzstars has sort of reset the Hall of Fame. So there are some stupid Hall of Fames out there, like really, really low damage Hall of Fames. So if you want to be part of the Hall of Fame, I would go have a good battle and upload it now, because there are some tanks that currently don't have a lot of damage. So now's your chance to be able to get the damage. So nice kill there. Unfortunately, he missed a few shots against that grill, so he has lost quite a bit of hit points. Hit points that he didn't really need to lose, but you know, it happens. And that's the thing with a high caliber gun like this. Sometimes you lose. You've got a long reload, and there's nothing too much you can do. But the Foch has now taken out the AMX-50B, which just leaves one tank left alive, which is the T30. However, both of these tanks are one-shots to the T30, so they do have to be very, very careful. Now, as you can see, he does still have his tungsten shells. So if the T30 has a bit more hit points than he thinks he can take out, no problem, smash the tungsten shells, and you should do more alpha and more damage. So you should be able to take almost 600. So if this guy's on 600 or a little bit less, he should be able to take him out. As you can see there, not quite. He does get very, very lucky there with the low roll of the T30. And I mean, he left him on 5 hit points. That was very, very lucky. But again, he's using his tungsten shells with 573 hit points. He should do that with the tungsten shells, unless he's really, really unlucky, which he's not. He does manage to finish the job. So that is the Kampfpanzer 70. What do you think? Do you prefer it in tier 10? Did you like it in tier 9? Let me know in the comments below. But for now, hope you enjoyed today's video, guys. I'm meadsy69, and I will catch you all soon. Bye-bye.